This is a really interesting story that Sarah Cannon chose for today, and I really enjoyed reading it. I hope that y'all will enjoy it too. So let's see. Oh. So this is called A Little Space for Me. And it starts off with a picture of a family. There are parents and grandparents and a sibling, and this person over here who says, "Sometimes my life feels very crowded." Sometimes it's too loud. Clink, clank, plink. I guess her sibling isn't very good on the piano yet. Grandma, slurp, and the little sister or brother snoring. Very annoying, I know, because I snore. Or sometimes it's messy. The cat here, I think, spilled something. The cat's my favorite character in this story, by the way. You've got to keep an eye on the cat through the whole thing. Or too hot, or smelly, or scratchy, or bright. Just overwhelming. And sometimes it can just be too much for no reason at all. Come on, fingers, you can do it. There we go. So one day, I decided I needed more space. If you see, what is she doing? She's over here in the top and she's climbing up the tower. So I got some. I don't know if you can see the little tiny detail, but she has a little bottle and she's collecting drips of space in it. I love my space so much. I wanted more. So she brings a bucket up there this time. My fingers are just not cooperating with me today. There we go. And more. So it even is starting to surround her. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We went way too far. Come on. Back, back, back. Okay. Very frustrating. One more. And even more. Around the table, you notice, they're not really noticing it, but she's got all those containers with more and more space. And then she even goes to the point of painting the walls and covering the whole house. Until there wasn't much space for anything else. Her family's kind of getting crowded out. And at last, I had all the space I needed. But what's wrong with this picture? Is there anybody else there with her? It looks pretty lonely to me. My space to think and breathe and rest and dream and feel. And off on the side you see meow. Cat's wondering, hey, what about me? Until finally, there's the kitty cat. I decided to share my space. And I didn't catch this the first time I read through it. But if you look, each person's head has some stars and some space in it. It took me a second or third time reading through it to catch that detail. But I always keep a little bit with me, so that bottle she had. Because everybody needs a little space sometimes. And that's the end of the story. Thank you for being here with me for this, and the children are staying in here, not leaving for RE.
Let me catch up my spot here. Forgot to turn pages. Sophia grew up, or some introduction for our speaker. Our speaker today is Sophia Madar. She grew up in this congregation, and most of you know her as Maria and Piero Madar's daughter. Sophia likes to call herself a behind-the-scenes Unitarian. You can find her working alongside her dad to improve campus infrastructure, technology, and safety, often in ways you'd never expect. She has dug trenches to redirect water drainage, run wiring for the new fire alarm system in the RE building, helped maintain solar panel wiring, climbed a 15-foot ladder to change light bulbs in the sanctuary, thank you so much, and more. Sophie is a graduate student, teaching assistant, and like many UUs, a lifelong learner. Today, she is here to share a few words with us about her experience growing up neurodivergent and how self-compassion shapes the way she grows.
Hello. Before I start, I would like to clarify that this sermon is titled Self-Compassion, but that is just one of several topics I will be discussing. In my experience, I have found that self-compassion is very closely linked to things like self-advocacy, shame, approval-seeking, self-abandonment, and inherent worth, among others. These topics can be sensitive ones, for me included. I offer this story not as someone who has it all figured out, but as someone still in the middle of it. I've done my best to make it one you might connect with, relate to, or find some truth in. So, let's begin. I was in second grade when I first realized that other people were judging me. Thinking back, I can't remember the exact moment. It was like adjusting the aperture of a camera, everything blurry, and then all at once, crystal clear. It was embarrassing before anything else, a hot, creeping sensation that I had been exposed without knowing it, that while I had simply been existing, other people had been watching me, forming internal opinions about me, and passing this judgment. Then a second realization hit me. How long had I not known this was happening? And why were these people allowed to have opinions about me when they didn't even really know me? As my mental line of questioning grew, these things started to feel profoundly unfair, at least to a second grader. So, with this new information, I resolved that if people were going to watch or judge me, I wanted to know about it. I wanted friends, and I desperately wanted to be liked. The only way I could think to get there was to play this new game I suddenly became conscious of and watch back. I decided to begin my extracurricular observational studies with the eyes. I devoted myself to memorizing the narrowness or wideness of eyelids, the color of irises, the dilation of pupils, the crow's feet crinkling at the corners of a smile. And then I started cataloging nods of approval, the warmth of a school teacher's grin, the particular way my parents' faces opened when they were proud of me. The face has 43 muscles, and once I got past the eyes, I began to mentally dissect each one with the kind of precision surgeons would envy. Reading facial expressions became my source of truth, the primary way of measuring whether I was doing the right thing, which I was very concerned with. Over time, I had learned that words were not good enough. Words were misleading things that often betrayed me, twisting good intent into something it wasn't, costing me dearly in ways I couldn't always quantify. In the classroom, on the playground, and in every small social moment that children move through without thinking, I was observing. It could be as simple as a sidelong glance or a furrowed brow. I became fixated on analyzing microexpressions because I had also learned that other people's words rarely matched how they felt on the inside. So every interaction became a stark ruling of something I had done right or wrong, delivered by the faces of my peers or teachers, and one I could feel acutely, but rarely fully understand. By reading faces, I sought to understand, through countless instances of trial and error, the unwritten rules of social propriety, how to phrase things, how to form sentences that didn't offend, what to say and what not to say, what was polite to say. I studied others' faces not only to gauge their approval, but as instruction for managing my own expressions, my tone, my delivery, my eye contact, none of which came naturally to me. Despite my efforts, I still got it wrong. I pushed people away, often unintentionally, and was ostracized in turn. As a child, I said things that were purely observational to me, but deeply offensive to everybody else. Looking back, and as one of my closest childhood friends had reiterated to me many times, it was like I had no filter, like some vital social wiring was missing from my brain. Sometimes I still feel like that is the case. I look back at that little girl that was once me. My heart breaks for her. But interestingly, the deep reservoir of shame that accumulated from my childhood mistakes was not a deterrent. It became my motivator. I had resolved to find a way to transcend this shame I was so shackled to, so governed by. So I got very good at seeing other people, and I forgot how to see myself. For years, I thought my solution was simple. If I could just perfect this right way to be, other people's judgment of me would be positive. And if judgment was so inevitable, as it had proven time and time again to be, then so would be my social success. I would use other people's feedback to guide me into the person they thought I should be, because obviously they knew better than me. From this, I would improve myself so much that I would inevitably rig the game of socialization in my favor. Maybe then I could avoid disapproval or rejection, or at least these things wouldn't cut me so very deeply, shake my wobbly foundation of self so strongly. So I kept learning. But I noticed two things. My solution was draining and wasn't sustainable, and I was still leaving my authentic self behind. I wasn't sure if I even knew who my authentic self was. So, how was I to recover from this conundrum? This was not the kind of thing I could just pull myself up by my bootstraps from and brush myself off. I was, and still am, deeply hurt, like many others. I carry years of self-abandonment, relationship trauma, and an unrelenting need to fix things. And unfortunately, my self-awareness does not stop my attempts at problem solving. I always think, but if I just say it differently this time, or try a little harder, it could be different. Sometimes it feels like I will never be done fixing myself. This way of thinking is a trap, and one I still haven't fully escaped. The thing I rely on to extricate myself from this trap is simple and maybe unsurprising. Self-compassion. I practice the quiet, unremarkable act of noticing, acknowledging, comforting, and forgiving myself. Treating myself as a close friend would, authentically and deeply. When I catch myself trying too hard or contorting myself for someone else's approval again, that is exactly when I meet myself with kindness rather than another layer of self-criticism. I do this by taking a moment to connect with and see the parts of me that have gone unseen, that feel hurt, that have spent years trying to protect me. I talk to them, I acknowledge their work and thank them, and I let them rest without judgment. This is the kind of self-compassion I never learned growing up, and that I'm learning how to give myself now. This is the way I have found to transcend my shame. I want to emphasize that my practice of self-compassion is the opposite of perfect. At first, acknowledging this was uncomfortable. When I began practicing self-compassion consciously, I expected myself to catch every piece of negative self-talk, to course correct every time I encountered negative internal dialogue. I don't catch everything, far from it. Sometimes I can still be exceedingly mean to myself. But through practice, I have trained my brain to revel in the imperfect, because if one of the many goals in our lives is to experience, to bask in that experience, and to feel all there is to feel, then there is no failure. There's just experience. I also want to talk about something called fierce self-compassion. Sometimes quiet self-kindness is not enough. Sometimes a situation calls for something more active. Kristen Neff, one of my favorite authors on this subject, describes the differences between the two this way. Tender self-compassion involves being with ourselves in an accepting way, comforting ourselves, reassuring ourselves that we aren't alone, and being present with our pain. Fierce self-compassion involves acting in the world to alleviate suffering. It involves protecting, providing for, and motivating ourselves. Sometimes we need to stand tall and say no, draw boundaries, or fight injustice. Or we may need to say yes to ourselves, to do what's needed to be happy, rather than subordinating our needs to those of others. And if we're stuck in a bad situation or habits that are harmful, it means doing something different. What's essential is that, like yin and yang, these two faces of self-compassion are balanced and integrated so that we can be whole. When both are present, it creates a caring force that can be used to transform ourselves and the world around us. Fierce self-compassion has helped me develop my ability to self-advocate. Sometimes, for me, it is incredibly difficult to hold a boundary, say no, or choose my own needs over someone else's approval. Fierce self-compassion is what makes that possible, because although I am no master of it, I have finally decided that I am worth the effort. For a long time, I didn't believe I was worth the effort. My worth was conditional. It was something I had to earn through approval, perfect behavior, flawless social navigation, and constant self-improvement. Worth was something other people had, not me. But the definition of inherent worth means it was always there, even when I couldn't see it. Even in my messiest, most socially awkward and painful childhood moments. Even now, when I still have uncouth or weird moments, or when others may not understand me, when they may judge me still. The practice of self-compassion is the practice of believing what I hear in the UU community, that every person has inherent worth and dignity, And so every person is worthy of true, deep self-compassion. What would it mean to embody this? Maybe it means we have permission to stop trying so hard, to be tired, to be self-aware without self-mastery, to be worthy right now. So I'll leave you with this question. How are you being compassionate toward yourself today? Right now, just as you are. Thank you.